Spin Spins. Welcome back to the Spoonie channel where we are unafraid, unfiltered, and pain recognizes pain. I've been telling you that I was going to do this video, but I had to kind of get healthy enough from my flare to be able to cohesively put this together for you. And it's not a super involved story, but I wanted to make sure that I kind of gave you the details of how I came to my diagnosis. I say my diagnosis, but there's like 30,000 of them because I was diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis, fibromyalgia, Ehlers-Danlos, which if you don't know any of these things, please absolutely Google them. But if you have an autoimmune disorder, you have what I call door prize diseases. Like, an autoimmune disorder sends your body into like a shutdown nightmare. I have eye problems, we have vitamin D problems in our teeth, and it's madness. So because there are so many things that go into your diagnosis, I wanted to make sure that I kind of told you my story and what happened to me. That way, if you're feeling these sort of things, you can say, maybe this is it. So, my husband, my son, and I, when my son was 6 years old, we put him in Taekwondo. We firmly believe that a child needs some sort of outlet. I don't care if it's drama club, I don't care if it's singing, I don't care if it's dancing, I don't care if it's sports, debate, chess. You just need something. You need something to have pride in. You need a drive to get better. Like, these are things, and respect for your elders. This is something that we needed our son to learn. And we started him in Taekwondo, and then a couple months later, from watching Behind the Glass, my husband was like, yeah, no, I want to do that too. And he went out and joined with my son, and I kind of stayed behind because this is me. I want to get all my information. I want to look at what's going on. I want to make sure that decisions are right for me. I am very in my head about it. I'm impulsive about other things, not about decisions. But once I watched them and I saw how not only enriching it was to their personal life, like themselves, I saw how it was bringing my son and my husband closer, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get a piece of that. And we did it as a family. I mean, competitively, like state, world championships. This is what we did. Just to give you a little bit of background. And I'm telling you this, you'll know why. So I've always been hypermobile. Always. And if you don't know what that is, I mean, like, this is what happens. When I point my finger, you see how it's curved like this? It's because we have elasticity in our connective tissue. Nobody really knew about this until me. I had grown up watching my aunts and my grandmother. When they stand, I kid you not, they look like flamingos. They look like flamingos. Their legs are so bent backwards. And my legs used to be that way. And I'll tell you what happened. So, I mean, like, but they just thought it was the way we were, that's how we're made. Well, it is, but it's an issue. So we were doing Taekwondo, and my husband was, here, hold on, we're gonna put this in reverse for a second. I had, when I was younger, always felt, and I'm gonna get really specific and really gross, so just bear with me for a hot second, but especially when I went to the bathroom. I'm sorry I have to say it, but when I would use the restroom, I would feel my hip slide in and out of the joint, and it would hurt so badly. I mean, tears, instant. I mean, when that happens, it's instant tears. It hurts so badly. But I never said anything to anybody. I was like, well, I mean, I guess all of us have this problem. Nobody said anything to me. They're not like, hey kid, how's your hips? So I didn't think that was a problem. Like, I grew up with my hips sliding in and out of joint and thinking, well, everybody's got to feel this, right? I just wanted to tell you that. That way, if you're feeling that, you don't wait as long as I did. So we were in Taekwondo, and because my hips slid in and out of joint, they've always kind of hurt, so I ignored it. I just did. And the first time I blew out my ACL, I was in Taekwondo. I did a jump kick. I landed, and because women specifically, I'm sorry, but it's true, tend to land without their knees bent. You tend to lock your legs when you land. I locked, my leg hyperextended, and I felt pop, gone. I didn't know what it was, right? I'm like, I went down, the entire Taekwondo center heard it, and they all went, like, that's how loud it was. And they came and they picked me up off the mat and they limped me to the chair. And my husband, you know how much I love my husband, but he's like, suck it up, you're fine. I'm like, what? Did you not just hear what rang out through this whole Taekwondo center? Like, did you not hear that pop? And fast forward, we went to a walk-in clinic. They're like, okay, we're going to do an MRI and, you know, we'll let your doctor know. They called me that night and they're like, yeah, you need to go to an orthopedist. You blew out your ACL. So, that was if you guys haven't had that, I'm not going to tell you about it because it's better if you have just nothing. So I get through that, right? I go get my ACL done. It was, we're not going to talk about it. I told you I wasn't going to. Anyway, went and got my ACL repaired, recovered from that, went back into Taekwondo, and this is why I say I don't take care of myself, but like, I went and tested for my black belt with no ACL. None. I wasn't about to miss my black belt testing, like, either way. I recovered from that, went back into Taekwondo. 8 months later, my husband is gone. He's doing a work trip, I think. I don't know. I went and did a jump kick, and this time I took off, and I didn't leave that enough bend in my knee, and taking off, I heard pop. And once you've had one ACL pop, you know when that second one popped. And I hit the ground, and all I see is, it's like the movie in it's like the scene in A Knight's Tale, right? When he's on his back, he sees them all from above. That's all I saw was faces, right? And I looked up and my Taekwondo instructor was in front of me and I went, if I popped my second ACL, I'm done. And he looks over and he's like, well, that's not the right attitude, is it? I looked over at my friend and I locked eyes with her, and like, she knew that I was saying, you best remove Master Andy, and I'll say his name because I know he's proud of it, but she knew, I'm like, you best remove him before stuff flies out of my mouth that none of these people are prepared to hear. So she grabbed him and she's like, let's go. Oh, if you could have seen how I looked at him. And he might as well have been eating popcorn, like, that's a bad attitude. I'm like, oh no. I will get up on this bad knee, and I will show you. Yeah, I'm feisty. So, my second ACL. And, I mean, 8 months later, my first one was not recovered enough to be the only leg that I was using. And yeah, I popped my second ACL, so I had to go through a second surgery. I had to recover from that second surgery. But here's where things started to get a little weird. Okay, so it's probably been 6 months, 7 months, and I keep going back to my orthopedic surgeon, and I keep saying, my hips hurt, my hips hurt, my hips hurt. And finally he got to the point where he's like, we've gone beyond the pain of your hips just compensating for your bad knees. If your hips still hurt, we need to go to a rheumatologist. And I was like, okay. I went to the rheumatologist. He sent me. Honestly, I had no idea what a rheumatologist was until he sent me there. And he started looking at me. Of course, he took x-rays. He took MRIs. And he took the x-rays of just my SI joints. And he was like, well, I don't really see anything. Because he kind of knew what he was looking for. But not only did he do the x-ray, the MRI, he tested me for the HLA B27 marker, which is an ankylosing spondylitis marker. Now look, if you have it, it doesn't mean that you're going to get ankylosing spondylitis. And if you have ankylosing spondylitis, you may not have the marker. It's not, we all know that they have to piece this together. It's not just there's your diagnosis. But when my MRI came back, and it showed that the rest of my back and how it was deteriorating, how it was growing new bone, that put together with, he's like, can you reach over and touch the floor? I was like, yeah, palms on the floor. He's like, let me see you hold a finger out. And I held my finger out like that. He's like, let me see your elbows, and he is testing me for EDS, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and he basically, with all of that put together, that I had ankylosing spondylitis. Basically, he took the x-rays, the genetic marker, my MRI, the TMJ, the diagnoses around ankylosing spondylitis, and realized that they all pointed in one direction. And we know in autoimmune, that's how it happens. My brother has ulcerative colitis. Like, in my generation of family, my cousin has Crohn's. Autoimmune is kind of run a little rampant, so I've seen these diagnoses be made, but when you have a degenerative arthritic condition, it's a little bit harder to peg. So they kind of put it all together like puzzle pieces, and he got me on a biologic. At that point, he told me everything. I researched everything. I don't want to be like, I got my degree from WebMD. I try not to do that, but I do like to be informed about what they're telling me. So I read it. It all sounded pretty bad, and I ignored it. I was 26 years old. Fast forward to about 31, 30, 32, and it got bad. I paid zero attention. I was healthy, I was fit, I stretched, I worked out. I was good. I did yoga and stuff. Like, I was an active, we scuba dived, we were active, but it just got to the point where I couldn't do these things anymore. I couldn't push myself. And as somebody who always pushed herself, like I said, I tested for my black belt with no ACL in my knee. And I know that's not impressive to some people because I know football players will do it, but nobody was shooting cortisone into my knee. I didn't have any trainers telling me yes or no. Like, I did it on sheer force of will to not collapse. And I'm not saying I'm a bad, mother, but like, when I get something in my head, there's not a lot of people that are going to stop me. I can get a little, stubborn, like that. Ding. But even today, it's funny how much misinformation there is, how many doctors aren't necessarily informed on this subject. I get injections. I got sent to my pain management doctor, and he started to do injections, and just like everyone else, he started in my SI joints. And the first thing he said to me truly was, ankylosing spondylitis in a woman? I'm like, yeah. There's just a lot of people aren't necessarily educated on it. They're not informed about it. So not only are these doctors trying to make this decision, but unless you're like a rheumatologist, a lot of them haven't seen ankylosing spondylitis. My neurologist has, I think, one other patient. One or two, possibly. And I think they're both male. So from there, I've basically just started to fall apart. I have a lot of neurological things that are going on. Seizures, a neurological episode, stroke, which I will go into. I want to do that story, but that's a little harder for me. And the reason that's harder for me is because I'm still dealing with some after effects, some speech issues, some memory issues. I will have a word or a phrase in my head. I can think it. I know it. It will not come out of my mouth. There's still some things that I'm dealing with, and I need a minute to put that all together to show you what happened and how it happened, and that will be in a video. So that's it. I mean, there's really not much more to say. I wanted to kind of get on here and just talk about it because these are easier videos for me to film. When I get super emotional, like I said, I still have speech problems, I still have memory problems, I still have issues. So when I go into an emotional video, like, things get bad and there's a lot of editing in those videos. But in the ones where I'm just talking about myself and the things that have happened to me, not necessarily how I feel, it just kind of flows. We're just talking. I'm just letting you know what happened in my life. So, yeah, there it is. How I was diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis and the rest of our door prize diseases. Oh God, I'm so sorry. I don't know what my problem is. Anyway, I love you guys. I just want to remind you that pain recognizes pain, and I see you. I love you guys.